3 convicts who were in the U.S. illegally are now behind bars.
The ICE Houston field office sent out multiple teams today to take down the targeted suspects who will soon be removed from the country. In a Fox 26 exclusive, our Abigail Dye went with Fugitive Operation Team Alpha and was there to see them in action.
Police, let me see your hands.
We got a close look at the team that is targeting violent illegal immigrants in our area.
You have a warrant for your arrest?
What am I arrested what?
With immigration.
The day started early. This is one of the 4 Houston ICE field office's fugitive operation teams.
You guys got the subject in custody?
Team Alpha.
This is every day. We're out there every day in the field.
They met in West Houston near the 14,000 block of Westheimer to talk about their target.
You have your ID in your car?
44-year-old Henry Alexander Paredes Padilla.
Honduran national. He has a final order of removal from an immigration judge. So far, as of today, he has 2 removals.
Padilla is convicted of multiple crimes, including assault of an officer, and he's entered the U.S. illegally at least 3 times. He represents the kind of non-citizen that Team Alpha targets.
We know who we're going after. We do target enforcements, and we're going after criminals.
Let's just spread out around the apartment complex and keep eyes up.
We followed Team Alpha to their target and waited. They've had eyes on Padilla for multiple days and knew he'd be coming down this staircase.
JD, check and see if you can set up and see the other stairwell just in case he comes down the opposite.
And eventually he did just that.
Hands up! You want to hold him right here? Yeah.
A peaceful arrest.
Left hand ready.
While this was happening, the other teams across Houston made 2 more. 41-year-old Mexican national Alanis Mata, who's been convicted of trafficking cocaine and has illegally entered the U.S. at least twice, was arrested in Freeport. And 46-year-old Palau national Shakespeare Ngurmaker, who's convicted of gross sexual imposition of a minor and was in the U.S. illegally, was arrested in Humble.
Fiscal year 24, we only have our 3 quarters out of the 4. We've already arrested over 7,200 non-citizens that are in the country illegally. Of that, 5,000, which is 70% of that number, had criminal convictions. Another 1,300, which is about 19%, have criminal charges pending.
Watch your head.
That means 90% of the non-citizens these teams arrest are like Padilla, convicted or accused of crimes.
We want to get rid of the worst people that you don't want in your neighborhoods.
I have the immigration judge's order I provided for you, the order of deportation.
All 3 suspects were taken to be processed. Then they'll either have an immigration hearing or be removed from the U.S.
Once we arrive to the facility, I'll let you give your wife a phone call and explain, and you can notify her where you'll be at the Montgomery Processing Center.
The men and women that do this job, live in the community as well. They all take pride in what they're doing.
Good job, guys. Thank you.
Very interesting story there. Abigail Dye reporting.
The operation begins before dawn. Agents with ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, who asked us to conceal their identities, gearing up at a parking lot in suburban Boston. We're along for the ride.
We don't do large-scale roundups. Every individual that's here today has come to our attention because they've been arrested by a local municipality for a felony or an egregious crime.
So after several hours of waiting, they've just found one of their targets, and we're on the move. When we arrive, we see an immigrant from the Dominican Republic who ICE says is here illegally and is a convicted sex offender. He tells me he came to the U.S. for a better way of life and denies the charges against him. He's led away in handcuffs. ICE agents had been watching this particular subject for at least a week. On this day, it took about 16 ICE agents to arrest 5 immigrants who ICE says are undocumented, have criminal records, and had been released on bail by local jurisdictions instead of being turned over to ICE, each requiring 40 to 80 hours of surveillance beforehand. Do you have enough resources to do this?
No, we don't. And that's one of the problems that, when jurisdictions don't cooperate with us, we have to go out into the community. which puts our officers at risk.
But these are the waning days of the Biden administration. President-elect Trump won, pledging to do much more, including mass deportations. And after Democratic city and state officials vowed to block Trump's deportation plan, incoming border czar Tom Homan is doubling down with this warning.
If they cross that line and knowingly harbor and conceal illegal alien, well, I'm going to seek prosecution.
I am concerned of what a mass deportation would look like for them.
Attorney Valerie Napier is an immigrant advocate who says calls to her clinic have tripled since Trump was reelected.
What do you say to those people who voted for Donald Trump and wanted a crackdown in the immigration system?
Not everyone is a criminal.
We pressed ICE about its current mission.
There are some who fear that ICE will also arrest immigrants that are here that may not have criminal records. To that, you say what?
To that, what we are focused on is obviously public safety, national security threats. But then there are those, too, that have exhausted all legal means. In the end, they've been ordered legally removed from the United States, and we'll go ahead and effect those removal orders.
Two U.S. officials tell NBC News that even before any mass deportation plans, ICE is already facing a budget shortfall of $230 million.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
That's Anna, her husband, and their two young children, engaged in a different kind of train surfing on top of a locomotive in 2023, headed north from their native Ecuador in pursuit of their own American dream. Fast forward a year, and Anna, we're using an alias at her request for privacy reasons, is living at the Stewart Hotel migrant shelter across the street from Madison Square Garden in Midtown Manhattan. Her youngest son, conceived and born here in the United States, he's the only member of this young family with U.S. citizenship. This pursuit of the American dream, not so different in spirit from the many versions of mass immigration America has witnessed through the decades. In fact, in 1907 alone, a single year, the United States welcomed and processed 1.2 million Irish, Italian, and other European immigrants at Ellis Island. Through the generations, across presidential administrations, changing immigration policy, and away from the heated rhetoric of the day, there is one constant: the desire to simply live better.
The journey to come here was long, and we went through a lot.
But Anna's life in this political climate is dangerously different, and she tells us she lives in constant fear of the incoming administration's promise of mass deportations.
We will begin the largest deportation operation in American history.
Deportations which threaten to tear apart her mixed status family.
With the little one, I don't know if I'm going to have a say to take him with me or if he will have to stay behind.
Does that scare you?
The more likely scenario, her entire family being sent back to Ecuador and the dangerous conditions they fled in the first place.
In the situation I was in, I had no other option. I had to leave.
This report aimed simply at exploring how one migrant mother, who is brave enough to speak out, is mentally and emotionally processing lofty policy decisions and what's expected to be a strict interpretation of existing immigration laws out of Washington.
You have to do things lawfully.
New York City Councilman Bob Holden says migrant criminals should absolutely be removed without delay. As for Anna's situation,
they're trying to make a better life for themselves. I understand that. I get it. But there are a lot of people that want to be citizens of the United States that waited in line and hired attorneys and have to wait several years.
Anna says she's no criminal, but still worries about what might happen to her family, including her U.S.-born son, next year, under the next administration.
I don't have a friend or relative here or anyone here who I can leave my child with.
These days, Anna is doubly worried for herself and her husband, who is currently working in construction in Alabama to help support the family.
He's worked hard. We miss him a lot. But I'm also worried that when he's down there, he could get detained and asked for his legal status and get deported.
Anna's life, no different from any other parent raising young kids without a support system, except she's doing it while also trying to hide in plain sight. Her children, keenly aware of their situation.
When they see the news and hear the word deportation, they know that we are not at peace and that we are not safe.
Blending in, staying under the radar to avoid acts of discrimination, or catching the attention of federal immigration agents, all part of their life now.
Do you feel welcome in this country?
There are some days when we travel on the train and I tell my kids don't talk because I speak Spanish and not English. There will be an aggression against me.
According to recent U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement statistics, between October 2023 and June of this year, the New York City and Newark, New Jersey ICE field offices conducted a total of 475 removals. 74% of them were for other non-criminal violations.
When they come into the communities, what are the tactics and strategies that they're going to use?
Janice Northia manages community engagement for the New York Immigration Coalition. She says NYIC routinely holds Know Your Rights workshops about judicial warrants and what agents can and cannot lawfully do in the field.
Everyone has a right to be able to live in their home without the fear of someone just coming in.
Anna chose to close our conversation with a word of thanks.
We're very grateful for everything that you are doing, and I just want to ask for forgiveness for coming to your country.
Why do you feel like you need to ask for forgiveness?
Because they see us as people that want to take like an invasion. And there are Latino immigrants who have done harm. And because of that, they generalize all of us.
I mean, what is the life that you want here in the United States for you and your children?
I want a peaceful life for my children, a college education that I never accomplished, and the future that I never had.